July of 2022 marks a major transformation in the way that us humans happen to get our food, whether it be from restaurants or grocery stores, because in July of 2022, Amazon Prime announced a partnership with Grubhub Plus, meaning that any Amazon Prime member is now able to get one full free year of Grubhub Plus just using their regular Amazon Prime membership. Now, what this means is that people who take advantage of this offer are going to get free delivery through Grubhub for a full year and access to special offers as well. No, this is not sponsored by Amazon or Grubhub, although that would be pretty cool if it was, maybe someday in the future. The reason I'm sharing this is there's actually a bigger trend at play here, and if you've been following me at all, you know that I like to dive into how new technologies are shaping the future of business, relationships, health, and more. What's really happening here is a much bigger trend. In fact, over the last decade, delivery of groceries, convenience store goods, or even restaurant orders has been on a steady growth curve. What originally just started out as maybe goods delivery or restaurant delivery with Uber Eats has now turned into a market-sized opportunity in grocery delivery and online ordering. If we look at what happened in 2020, the amount of home delivery skyrocketed, whether it was just regular e-commerce goods, restaurant orders, or groceries, and so much more. While it might have seemed like back in 2020 when all of the current events started, that grocery delivery and restaurant delivery would just be a temporary phenomenon, these services have actually remained intact. In fact, they've even grown a little bit since 2020. And it's from this perspective that I would say restaurant, grocery, and convenience store delivery are here to stay. So what does this mean and how does it impact different industries? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in today's episode, what Amazon's Grubhub Plus partnership means for the future. In 2005, Amazon Prime was officially launched, making the ability to acquire goods from any corner of the earth so much more easy to do because you could basically get anything you want just in a couple taps using your phone or your computer. And over the course of less than a decade, many people in first world countries started to use Amazon Prime as a primary means of securing miscellaneous goods using the internet and being able to get those goods in just a short 2-day period, therefore eliminating the need to hop in the car, run to a grocery store, and spend time going and running that errand that you've been putting off for so long. Amazon basically made it convenient to go and get goods that you normally didn't want to get. And then in 2014, Amazon came out with Amazon Pantry, which was just another way or another more specific and focused way of Amazon helping their customers secure goods in a more convenient way and allowing basically the common person to not have to go to the grocery store and be able to get some of their common pantry essentials. In 2016, Amazon heated things up with same-day delivery, basically meaning that you could order something and it would come on that same day, making that 2-day delivery window a lot more interesting because now you could actually get things much faster. And continuing on with this trend, in 2016, Amazon opened their first Amazon Go store. And then in 2017, Amazon acquired Whole Foods. So you see them making this very clear transition and focus on groceries at this time. Within a couple years, Amazon basically launched what is now known as Amazon Fresh. And just a year later in 2020, Amazon launched Amazon Groceries. And just a year afterwards, Amazon launched Amazon Fresh, which is basically their own grocery store with the Amazon logo on it. Now, with all of this context in mind, it's pretty clear that Amazon has been focused on delivering goods to consumers and has been shifting their focus and expanding their focus to include food across many different niche markets. So Amazon's partnership with Grubhub Plus really shouldn't be too surprising with all of this taken into consideration. But there's something really interesting about what has happened in the last couple of years. I've heard people say that the last couple years have accelerated the way the world works 10 years further ahead than it would have been had things just continued on at their normal pace. And I happen to agree with that. I think what happened in the beginning of 2020, end of 2019, which changed the way that the world operated, it really did trigger a lot of new innovations and changes in the way that we operate as a society around the entire world. What used to be a very normal chore of going to the grocery store and going grocery shopping turned into a little bit less of a normal thing. And what became pretty normal to many people was getting groceries delivered to their doorstep for a relatively low and affordable fee. Restaurants that usually only offered a dining in option had to start offering online ordering, which in combination with restrictions preventing people from dining in the first place, created a massive trend in people starting to get very comfortable ordering food using apps like Uber Eats and Grubhub. And whether you think that this stuff is making us as humans more lazy, or whether you really think that it's making us more efficient, I really do agree that these trends are here to stay. Because the reality is, over the last couple of years, companies have built up an infrastructure that makes the customer experience so much more effective and enjoyable, allowing more options than has ever existed before. Think about the average grocery trip that you would normally take being about 60 minutes on average, and not having to do that anymore. This is a very compelling value proposition that grocery stores are starting to take note of, offering their own home grocery delivery services, just like Amazon Prime did in the very beginning of 2020 as the world was changing. And the phenomenon that I would basically describe here is the modern day Ford assembly line. You see, basically before all of the grocery delivery and restaurant ordering online took place, we would be very commonly going to pick up these goods ourselves. And what Amazon Prime really did was they brought their logistical system into the restaurant and the grocery industry, making what I would call the modern day Ford assembly line, which is basically a network of people and systems making the delivery process of a good from a store to the end consumer way more efficient and way more streamlined than ever before. So yeah, I definitely am more a proponent of saying this is a more efficient way for us as a society to operate. Of course, there's little tweaks and improvements that will be made over time to make things less carbon footprint intensive or more efficient and more economical. But overall, I think this is a good trend that is going to increase the overall output of our entire society. But before we get too excited about these companies like Grubhub and Amazon Prime and Uber, I wanted to focus back on the Ford assembly line analogy. Because if you watch my channel, you know that I like to call out trends and overlay them in how they impact people's jobs and businesses and so on and so forth. Well, if we think about the Ford assembly line, really this was a second industrial revolution type of innovation. Being able to very closely segment portions of a manufacturing process, making the overall process much more efficient, was a major innovation in the second industrial revolution. Much like how today, having the Uber Eats and Grubhub deliveries and home grocery deliveries, innovations coming into play to make grocery and restaurant order delivery much more streamlined, there are some caveats that we need to discuss. Because there was also a third industrial revolution and currently the fourth industrial revolution that is taking place right now. And what we saw in the third industrial revolution was workers in factories having their jobs outsourced and further leveraged by the use of automations and technology. To the point where today you can go in a factory and there's not going to be many workers there even operating the machinery because it's all automated. And I did think it was important to highlight while we're talking about this topic that the modern day Ford assembly line, by having this entire network of people that are delivering goods from one place to another, this is another thing that I really do believe will be automated in the near future. And this is where the fourth industrial revolution comes into play. So much like we saw the transformation from the second industrial revolution into the third industrial revolution, creating factory workers. So much like how we saw from the second to the third industrial revolution, factory workers being replaced by automation and robots, I think we really are going to see in that third to fourth industrial revolution transformation, when self-driving cars start to become more widely adopted, I think these types of jobs are going to become replaced by self-driving cars. So if you work as a driver in this industry, this might sound alarming to you, and I can totally understand if it does. But the reality is this stuff is probably going to take some time, and if you're watching this, it means you're much further ahead of everyone else that maybe isn't even aware of this tidal wave of change that is coming. Because although people like Elon Musk are saying Tesla will have self-driving cars by 2023, there's also others that are saying it's probably going to be closer to 2050 when self-driving cars are going to become more widely adopted. The key, though, is whether it's in the next year or the next 28 years, there is going to be this transformation that takes place, and it's really important to be aware of that, especially if you happen to be in the industry of moving goods from one place to another. If you're watching this and you're wondering, how do I avoid something like this happening in my own career or business? And what do I do if I find myself in this situation? It doesn't have to be like the topic we discussed today, but maybe a different industry that you're wondering about. Well, as we wrap up, I did want to make sure to give a quick plug to the Tech Powered Leaders Slack community, which is currently a free community of other tech-savvy and tech-aware individuals who want to be aware of the latest technology trends so they don't get caught off guard, and in fact, so they can actually stay ahead of all the technology trends. Like I said, right now, it's completely free to join, so if you're interested in participating in this community, I'll leave a link in the description below so you can check it out. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button. And if you want to see more content about how technology is shaping the future of health, relationships, business, and so much more, make sure to subscribe so you can keep up to date with the latest. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.